Hey, it's Eric Silver, your friendly local gamesman, podcaster, and founding member of Multitude. I am here bursting into the RSS feed at an irregular time to tell you about Head, Heart, Gut, a podcast that is exclusively for members of the multicrew, our membership program that supports all of Multitude. If you've never heard of the premise of Head, Heart, Gut, let me tell you. Every month we decide which is the best of an iconic set of 3 items from pop culture or the world we live in, as argued by any of the many members of Multitude. In the first 3 weeks, contestants present their choice by answering the same questions on our definitive survey of greatness, giving us stats, why the pick would win a fight, how would Guy Fieri turn it into a dish, and much, much more. In week 4, each contestant participates in a formal debate revolving around the rhetorical triangle. Get it? Head, heart, and gut. With a judge of their peers to decide what is once and for all the best thing. What you're about to hear is a supercut of the 3 survey round episodes for the Best Animal Heroes Month. Julia Schifini, Eric Schneider, and Jazza John are arguing for the most courageous and honorific animal. And, as you might imagine, this goes fully off the rails in ways we were not anticipating. We designed this show to be a place for Multitude hosts to interact with each other and talk about stuff outside of their regular shows. It has been so much fun getting way too intense about subjects that don't matter for years now. Seriously, we decided what the best fruit was, what the best movie sequel was, the best utensil, the best superhero on both the Justice League and the Avengers, what is the best thing to do at a theme park, the best state of matter, and much, much, much more. If you want to hear the judgment episode of this section and get access to the years and years of arguments, go to multicrew.club to join the multicrew today. You get the RSS feed for Head, Heart, Gut, access to the secret Instagram account for Multitude, secret Discord access, and even more stuff. That is multicrew.club, and you can find the link in the episode description below. Enjoy the supercut, and remember, your friends are wrong, and you're correct.
Friends, Romans, perfect pups, lend me your ears. This is Head, Heart, Gut, the friendly debate show where there's no right answer, just the best answer. Every month we take an iconic set of 3 items from pop culture or the world we live in and pit them against each other. First, each of our contestants will present their choice, answering the questions on our definitive survey of greatness. At the end of each episode, the other contestants will score them based on their head, heart, and gut, and we will ultimately decide a winner of these 3 survey rounds. In week 4, we turn up the heat where a special guest judge will lay down a ruling in a formal, structured debate. This week, in the Best Animal Hero debate, I, Julia Schifini, will be arguing on behalf of Balto, the bravest dog ever. And I am joined by my fellow contestants Jazza John, arguing on behalf of Moko, and Eric Schneider, arguing on behalf of Sergeant Stubby. Let's get it going. I feel like I had to put some zazz on Sergeant Stubby there because, I don't know, he just sounds very intimidating.
It's a shame that best name is not a category that we're going to be ranking on.
That is true, unfortunately.
We have some pretty good names here, just as a starting point. I think we can all agree our dogs and other animals potentially.
Mammals, thank you. Let's be inclusive.
Our mammals,
yes.
No spoilers, have some pretty solid names between the 3 of us. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree, especially when you think about how Balto's full title is and should be said as Balto, the bravest dog ever. So I'm going to start with my headline, which in fact is Balto, the pro-medicine pup and the bravest dog ever.
Okay, so you've incorporated his full title into the thing. Yeah.
Naturally.
Excellent.
Naturally.
Yeah,
Julia immediately making it political. talking about what medicines I should be taking, all of that.
Sorry, I forgot I was on a call with two Americans where medicine is political.
Yes,
yeah.
No, whoops, sorry.
I don't want to dangle the National Health Service in front of you so early, but sorry, can't relate.
Honestly, I think a lot of Americans, not myself included, would take more medicine advice from a dog than from a doctor. So, I mean, that's what we're dealing with.
Unfortunately true. Ooh, yeah. Maybe we just need Balto right now. You know, in these like 2.5 years of our past lives, maybe we just needed a Balto.
Maybe we just needed Balto. I could go get him.
Get your vaccine.
Yeah.
Ruff.
Woof woof. Need some vaccines. So I'm going to go with my trading card. And Balto, for those of you who don't know, are both of you familiar with the story of Balto?
No. I know the name. I have no idea what the context of this is.
I associate Balto with the snow. And so I assume he was in Alaska.
You're correct.
And that's about it.
So Balto became famous because he was the lead sled dog in the final stretch of what was called the Great Race of Mercy, or the Serum Run, which was in 1925 the transportation of a diphtheria antitoxin via dog sled relay through Alaska.
Wow, that's so much information to take in. Diphtheria.
Yes, so...
What is...
Hold on while I pull up my notes about what the hell diphtheria is. So diphtheria is basically an infection from this particular type of bacteria. It is something like nowadays 10% of those diagnosed will die from it. It's usually just like sore throat, fever, cough. It is like extremely infectious. However, there is a diphtheria vaccine, and at the time in 1925, there was an antitoxin that one could use in order to treat it.
Okay, cool. And I assume transportation and logistics difficult in Alaska?
Yes.
And so they turned it into a fun race with dogs.
Yeah, it's
right.
A race? You said it was a race, right?
I called it the Great Race of Mercy, which was one of the names of it. Okay. And I'll get into the details during the best qualities because it is like extremely important.
Because I feel like this should be like a yearly kind of consistent day-to-day event rather than like the fun annual event Race of Mercy. This is not when people with dysphoria get cured. No other times.
Okay, so this particular like transportation, it was done by 20 mushers, which are dog sled pilots for lack of a better word, 150 sled dogs over 647 miles, and it was done in 5.5 days.
Oh, wow.
That seems impressive. Alaska's huge.
Yes, Alaska's huge. This was an incredible distance. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later, but what you need to know is Balto and his team ran the final 55 miles of that relay, and it was done in extreme sub-zero temperatures in near blizzard conditions and hurricane force winds.
Blimey.
That's bad.
Yeah. So bravest dog ever out there, making sure some little kids got medicine.
That is noble. That is honorable.
So let's dive in a little bit further into the story and the importance of what Balto and his team did by going to my 3 best qualities. So number 1 is the situation and its importance, which feels like a real like queer movie podcast act name.
It really is. Where's the party and its aftermath?
This is the party and its aftermath right here. So the original call for this diphtheria antitoxin was due to the fact that mostly children had started to get sick and pass away in this town called Nome. So Nome was a very remote town in Alaska. The stores in the small town of this antitoxin had expired, and the only doctor in town, the only doctor in hundreds of miles, was a guy named Dr. Welch. And so he requested an additional shipment of these antitoxins from the US Public Health Service. But because it was winter in Alaska, the ports were closed because of ice, and more could not be shipped until spring. So plane was also not an option because of the harsh winter weather and, like I said, the hurricane weather conditions.
What was the year again, real quick?
This is 1925. Yeah, he sent all of this information via telegram because that's how people communicated back then.
I just wasn't sure if planes had been invented at this period or not. So I was like,
not well, but they had been invented.
Because that's going to be a major hindrance for flight if it's pre-planes.
That is true. So basically, basically, it was proposed that dog sled teams would be used to transport cases of this antitoxin to this small town. However, the proposed trip, that distance of the 674 miles, usually took about 30 days. And the doctor estimated that the serum would only last in the brutal winter conditions for 6 days. So they had to try to make this journey that usually took 30 days in under 6 days.
That's 5 times as fast.
Can I just say, that is longer than the length of my country. England is only about 600 miles long. Sorry, that just contextualized everything. And I'm very impressed with this little doggo.
Alaska, I don't know if this is entirely accurate, but I think Alaska might be like about the size of Western Europe in its entirety. So like it's a massive place.
I think it might be bigger.
It's all just a terrible tundra.
Not all of it. Some of Alaska is extremely beautiful.
You can be beautiful and a terrible tundra. The Mojave is lovely, but it's also a terrible tundra.
Sure. So perhaps most interestingly was, at least to me, is that Balto was not originally one of the dogs that was chosen for the relay. He was basically part of a team that had been left behind in case they were needed, and so were like kind of running behind the original team.
And then they realized he had a bright red nose.
Not quite. So basically, like when they arrived for the what should be the final leg of this relay, the like person delivering the stuff to the next leg was there, but not the person that he was supposed to be delivering it to, right? Because basically the intended final team had believed that the relay had been halted because of inclement weather, and he was just like, he basically slept through the arrival of the other team.
Oh, come on. There were alarm clocks in 1925.
Well, he just like straight up, he's like, it's a blizzard outside. There's no way that other team is going to get here in time.
Let the children die.
So the backup team, Balto's team, were like ready to go. And so they passed off the antitoxin to Balto's team and they ran that final 55 miles to Nome. So it also should be noted, and I feel like this is really important, the official death toll of diphtheria in the town of Nome was only like 5 people. Although I will be completely honest, true to colonization vibes, it's noted that 100 additional indigenous people in the surrounding areas also passed away from diphtheria. But the expected infection rate without the antitoxin would have been around 10,000 people with a mortality rate just under 100%.
Holy shit. Mm-hmm.
That's bad.
So the situation that Balto found himself in, extremely, extremely important that they got that medicine there on time. And he was there when this other guy was just going to sleep through. And I'll remind you that this antitoxin would have been like rendered unusable after 6 days. They got there on that 5.5 days. So if they hadn't been there to run that last leg of the race, they probably wouldn't have been able to use the antitoxin.
Was Balto the only dog pulling the sled?
He was not, but that moves on to my next point, which is Balto fame and the aftermath. So up until this point, up until this Great Mercy race or this relay, Balto had never been a lead dog on a winning dog sled team. And up until this point, he had been considered a like scrub dog, like the dog that if another one on the team got injured, he would be the replacement.
He's literally the underdog.
Yes, exactly. So Balto was the one who led this final relay. It was basically like he was called up to action at the last moment and like finally had his time to shine. I will say there was another dog during this relay named Togo who probably ran the more like challenging and dangerous part of the serum relay. Ooh. But Balto kind of became an instant hit in the world news because he was the one that like was there for the final delivery. I'm not saying that Balto deserves all of the fame, but he did get the fame, and I think that it's kind of important to kind of like look at the legacy of it.
Mm-hmm. Hashtag justice for Togo. I'm just going to put that out there.
Justice for Togo. I
Getting
agree.
my tweets ready.
It's not Balto's fault. It's like the media was just like, this one cool dog. Hey, we're not going to think of all the other dogs.
What did Balto do to change the narrative? Just say.
I mean, he didn't speak English, so he couldn't really correct them.
Well, I'm just saying, mine probably does speak English, so I'm just that's going to be points for me.
This is why we need more dogs in newsrooms.
So Balto, regardless, did become this kind of instant hit among world news. It only took 10 months for the statue of Balto in New York City Central Park to be erected, which, is wild. 10 months after, he delivered the stuff.
Was he still alive? Isn't
Yes.
it bad taste for somebody to have a statue of them while they're still alive? Isn't that a bit dictatory?
I mean, yes, but again, he didn't, propose that the statue was built. I love the statue's inscription, so I'm going to read it for you guys, which is, quote, dedicated to the indomitable spirit of the sled dogs that relayed antitoxin 600 miles over rough ice, across treacherous waters, through Arctic blizzards, from Nenana to the relief of the stricken Nome in the winter of 1925. Again, it's not just to him, it's to all the dogs, but he's just the one that they decided to capture in bronze, I think.
It's a romantic text, but you can do a smaller statue, more dogs.
That's true. That's true. It's actually one of my favorite statues in Central Park, so I'm just oh yes, the Balto statue. Give him a little pet on his nose. So he eventually, it's a good point that you brought up, Jazza, that he survived the ordeal and was still around, because eventually he was featured on the vaudeville circuit, which was big at the time. A lot of crowds were drawn because they wanted to meet the hero dog. But unfortunately, especially for these hero dogs, because it was his whole squad that got presented, not just Balto, but Balto was the lead dog. So he was the quote unquote most important.
You know what I've just realized our generation's Balto is?
Oh, no.
It's Grumpy Cat, because that's the only animal I've ever queued up to meet. And all that is, that was a cat that was famous on the internet. That didn't deliver any diphtheria. That's
true. That cat did not help public health at all.
I mean, sure, laughing is the best medicine, is what they say.
I feel like a diphtheria antitoxin might be.
You're going to talk about Americans not knowing about medicine over here.
Anyway, the vaudeville circuit happened for a while. Unfortunately, the owners are kind of dicks, and so they sold the dogs to a novelty museum in Los Angeles for the highest price, which was not great. But eventually, they were brought to Cleveland, Ohio, where they were welcomed with a triumphant, a legit hero's parade for these dogs.
Ohio is one of those states that us foreigners only ever think about whenever they do the presidential election. And they're like, oh, that exists. But now I have another thing for it to be in my consciousness. How lovely.
Let me give you a third one real quick. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh my God, now I have 3 things. What a privilege. I'm so glad I came to this, guys.
So they're brought to Cleveland, Ohio. They have this incredible heroes parade, and then they lived out the rest of their lives in what at the time was the Brookside Zoo, which is now Cleveland's Metro Parks Zoo. Eric.
Yeah.
Is that a nice zoo?
I worked at that zoo. It's a great
zoo. Okay.
Yeah.
Tight. So Balto and his friends got to live out the rest of their days at that really nice zoo. And when Balto passed away, his body was taxidermied and donated to the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. My issue, Eric, with you in particular and your state and your city is that there have been several attempts by the Alaskan government to return Balto back to his home, and the Cleveland Museum keeps going, nah.
Oh, this feels very like British Museum stealing a load of stuff from Egypt and Greece and still saying, oh, you know what, it might be 2022, but we're going to keep it. Thank you.
I do feel bad about that.
Okay,
I will say I have paid admittance to go into that museum, so I have supported this, which I guess I feel bad about. They used to do a thing called Think and Drink at this museum, and I have just had a beer directly next to Balto. So
that's
I don't know
cool.
what that brings us to, but I'm sorry that Balto is not being returned to his proper place.
Did you thank him for greatly impacting the public health of the United States? Because that's my third point.
I didn't do that exactly, but I probably said good on you or something like that to him.
Okay. So that does bring me to my third point, which I have titled The Inoculation Campaign. So not only was this an incredible feat in and of itself, and Balto became extremely famous in a period where it was kind of just like wild that a dog became extremely famous, but the public health ramifications cannot be denied. The publicity of the event, including the celebrity of the dogs and Balto in particular, helped to spur an inoculation campaign, which dramatically reduced the threat of diphtheria in the United States. So, a story and a figure like Balto is probably something that we could have used quite a lot more of over the past 2.5 years.
Like, maybe, those cats that were getting COVID, or those mink in Denmark that caught it as well. Maybe we should have chosen one of them and been like, get vaccinated for mittens.
Yeah. I feel like, you remember when we all got really excited about that dog and Bones or No Bones days?
Yeah.
Noodle the dog.
I think I'm too old.
Okay, that's fair. He's like an elderly dog,
pug.
and basically he has very bad arthritis, and you could tell whether or not it was going to be a good day or not, whether or not his body his owner would like very gently pick him up, and if he stood up, it was a Bones day, which means he could get stuff done. It was going to be great. And if he like just kind of like went back to laying back down, then it was a No Bones day. And so it was like permission to give yourself like a little bit of extra time. Like don't feel so stressed about getting stuff done. Like you can take the time.
Why is Bones not being talked about here?
The nice thing about No Bones Day is it wasn't like it was going to be a bad day. It was like it was going to just be like a day where you need to take care of yourself first and foremost.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute. Why aren't I on TikTok? That's Rowan's thing.
I'm not on TikTok. I just have a friend that's like 5 years younger than me that they send me stuff.
That helps. So yes, I would say if Noodle the pug, was able to convince more people to get vaccinated for COVID, that would be the equivalent of what Balto was in 1925.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well argued. Okay.
Thank you. So I'm going to move on to the Fight Club, which is how good Balto would do in a fight. I came up with this before I knew what yours were. And so I'm just going to say like Balto is kind of an unexpected fighter because he wasn't supposed to be the lead dog in his part of the relay. He was that scrub dog. And honestly, no one was expecting him to be the one to quote unquote save the day. So you wouldn't be expecting him, which is like, an element of surprise is always good in a fight. Mm-hmm. Also, he's a sled dog, which means he has like dexterity, he has endurance, he has stamina, and he's a very, very good boy. So next, I'm going to be taking it to Flavortown, which is like how Guy Fieri would kind of get involved in the story. And so now I'm picturing Guy Fieri as like a dog sled pilot and like picturing what he would be making for himself in the middle of a blizzard in Alaska and like what he would also be feeding the dogs because naturally like what he's eating, the dogs also have to eat because supplies are limited. And I'm just like picturing like a really nice, like very warm, fulfilling stew. Plus it's got like a lot of protein for the pups. Like something like a beef bourguignon, but with like caribou or reindeer, and I think it would be delicious. And now I'm extremely hungry.
Oh, reindeer in a stew is very good.
Like if you're a big fan of like venison or like that kind of like a venison steak, imagine that, but like beef bourguignon and delicious.
And then obviously Balto gets a piece as well to gnaw on. Maybe the bones.
He was gonna get the bones. Yeah, when you're done making your stock with those caribou or your reindeer bones, you give them to Balto, and now he's got all that energy to bring medicine to the children.
I don't know what it is about like for the children that I find so funny. Would somebody think of the children?
Okay, so like part of this too, and I didn't really talk about this in my main points, but like a big part of like the Balto legacy for me is the DreamWorks movie, which either of you seen this DreamWorks movie?
I think I saw it a long time ago, but it doesn't ring any bells currently.
I've seen Bolt.
Bolt is not the same.
No, different? Okay, cool.
No, very different. So Balto, it's like Kevin Bacon plays Balto, and it's like very horny for a dog movie for whatever reason, because he's doing this all to prove that he's like a cool, impressive dog to a hot lady dog, and also to save some children.
Okay.
There's like one girl that he's like friends with because he's like the outsider in the town. And so like this one little girl has been helping her, and the little girl's dog is the hot, sexy dog.
So wait, is this like Lady and the Tramp? This is dogs getting off. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
It's horny dogs.
It's horny dogs. Well, they are generally, unless you castrate them. Yeah.
And so like I grew up watching this film, and it was like a film that myself and my godfather's daughter would often watch together. And so like they would be like, oh, Julia, Katie, what do you guys want to watch? And we would just be like, Balto. And they're like, why do you like that movie? And me and my friend would like look at each other and then put our hands on our hips like little girls do. And we just go, he's the bravest dog ever. And then my dad like never stopped quoting that at me for the rest of my life. So
Julia, you just got a 5 for heart. Damn it.
He's the bravest dog ever. I love him so much.
He's a brave dog.
So we're moving on to the Dwayne The Rock Johnson factor. And I mean, I think this one is pretty obvious. Like, obviously you would do a live action movie of the Serum Relay where Dwayne The Rock Johnson is playing the sled dog pilot Gunnar Kaysen.
Hold on.
And he's,
hold on.
Yes.
What's this dude's name?
Gunnar Kaysen.
Have you mentioned him before?
I have not. I did not tell you what the pilot's name was because I was saving it for this moment.
That's a good name.
Yeah. It's like very like Nordic spelling, so it's Gunnar.
Yeah, and there's probably like some umlauts and stuff.
There's no umlauts, but
there are though, right? I mean, come on.
There could be. There should.
Let's
be.
add them in for fun, you know.
There's like a silent umlaut.
It's a silent umlaut.
The umlaut is silent.
An invisible umlaut, but you know it's there.
Yeah.
And then his last name is spelled Kaasen.
Kornsen. I don't speak any of the Nordics. That I should stop. I should not try.
Yeah. So that's Dwayne The Rock Johnson is Gunnar Kaysen. And he and Balto would just like have this beautiful moment where they decide that Balto is going to be the lead dog on the sled and that they're going to like do this final leg of the relay ... together.
Now, I have an important question. There's that recent Harrison Ford movie where there's a dog, and the dog was played by a man and then CGI'd into a dog. How are you going to have Balto presented in this movie? Is it going to be a man CGI'd into a dog, or are you going to get an actual dog?
No, I want a real fucking dog because that's a truly buck wild thing.
Is the dog going to talk at all, or is it okay? Well, I'm just
why not?
I'm just
I think
checking.
it would be nice too, seeing as Balto never had a chance to speak to the public who adore him as such. Wouldn't it be nice for the medium of cinema to be able to provide him with that platform?
I mean, he did in the animated film Balto.
Sure.
And Kevin Bacon did it.
Of course, Kevin fucking Bacon.
But I will say, if I was going to give Balto a voice, I would do it in the style of Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey, where it is just like regular animal actors, but they are like voiced by famous actors and they're like not moving their mouths or anything. You're just seeing like a dog turn his head and then like what's his face from Back to the Future's voice comes out.
Michael J. Fox.
I think that is the best way of doing it.
Yes, thank you.
You're not getting bonus points for making me think about Shadow from Homeward Bound, just so you know.
Oh, okay. But that old man, he finally got returned back to his owner.
I know, but I'm just saying you can't just like bring up Homeward Bound and think that's worth bonus points. Because that's the movie I watched a lot as a child.
Did it touch your heart?
Of course it did.
Then maybe I should get a couple bonus points.
Well, the movie did.
Well, remembering the movie touched your heart, didn't it?
I'm always thinking about that movie.
Julia, I'm already 100% on board. Like, I was as a kid as well. You're getting too many points already.
Jazza, you gotta be stronger.
No, I'm so weak. I am so incredibly weak.
They warned me. They said Jazza will turn on a dime and just give everybody 5 points. We gotta be stronger. We can't just give 5 straight across the board.
Strong like Balto.
Okay, to stop Jazza from giving me more points, even though I want them, I'm going to finish out with my fun fact, which is Balto. I don't know if you guys know the namesakes of yours. I imagine Sergeant Stubby is probably not particularly named after a certain person, but Balto was actually named after a Sami explorer named Samuel Balto. So Samuel Balto began his life as a lumberjack and a reindeer herder in Norway, but was eventually recruited for the Trans-Greenland Expedition, which was the first recorded crossing of the interior of Greenland, which was traveled via skis. They traveled across Greenland on just skis, which is incredible. He eventually wrote a book about that. It's very interesting. And then Samuel Balto eventually moved to Alaska again to become a reindeer herder and like introduce reindeer to Alaskan like society and culture and like teach people there how to like do reindeer husbandry. And then eventually he became a gold miner in the Yukon River Valley.
This guy literally did everything you could possibly do back then.
Lives were so much more interesting back then.
Those are like the three things you could do. You could ski across Greenland.
One time.
Go to the Yukon and get gold, and then live up in Alaska. I mean, those are the three things dudes were doing back then.
And what have we got now? Instagram Reels?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, none of us are going to get a hero dog named after us, and that's just a shame.
Not with that attitude.
Speak for yourself, Julia. I'm planning on Jazza, the bravest dog in the world, becoming a real thing. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, you need to sign up for the next trans-Greenland expedition and ski across Greenland, and then we'll see what happens.
Also, Jazza is my name, but it's also a great dog name. Anybody listening, you want to name your dog after me, go for it.
All right. You know what? I will consider it.
Excellent, thank you.
But do it specifically if you think your dog will become a hero.
Yes, please. I'm hedging my bets here.
Make sure that you are also heroic so we can kind of lump them together.
Well, listen, if we all name our dogs Jazza, then the likelihood of one of them being a hero dog named Jazza means it's high. All right, rate me, boys.
Okay, and now we are going to judge Julia using our head, our heart, and our gut, scoring them on a scale of 1 to 5 for each. Jazza, let's start with head.
Okay, so I feel like objectively, when you're thinking about this with one's brain bag, I feel like Balto is not the star of this show. With many narratives, I feel like he has been plucked up. He had the underdog story that then was used in marketing to go on and do some amazing things.
Yeah.
But actually, it should be Balto and his friends, the bravest dogs and sledder in the world.
Yeah, musher.
Sorry, yes, of course.
Well, unfortunately, this was Best Animal Hero, not Best Animal Heroes, so I had to choose the one that I felt embodied the rest of the dogs. I just want to say, you guys learned what diphtheria was. You learned all these statistics about like how far it is to travel between these two towns. I'm just saying.
I learned Alaska's big.
Alaska big.
I learned that there's a zoo in Ohio.
I'm not discounting any of that. I mean, I think we learned a lot. Yeah. What do you think you're going for number-wise? So
you know what? I think that Julia is very lucky that she jumped in there because I was feeling a 2. I think I'm now feeling more of a 3.
I think a 3 is fine because, I mean, if we're doing this logically, then like this was a team effort. And because it's a team effort, you kind of have to, you can't give Balto too much of the credit if we're talking about one hero animal. And I'm not, Julia's giving me a stick face, which is completely fair. But I'm just saying, like, look, I 2, I think, was definitely too low. But I think a 3 is reasonable because we are talking about a team of animals that was led by Balto and a very cool man, presumably named Gunner. So I think that's great. Now, what about heart?
5.
Yeah, heart, I feel 5. I mean, Julia loves Balto. The people love Balto. She gave us a lot of facts about why people love Balto.
She liberally used the phrase good boy as well, which is always going to pluck at my heartstrings as a former dog owner. I mean, this is easy for me.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good job.
And then our gut. How do we feel about Balto being the best hero animal out there? I feel pretty strong, I'll say. But the fact that it is essentially he engaged in a team sport, it's the thing that's holding him back from being the best for me.
Right. Gut is meant to be ethics and values. And
I mean,
I feel like the ethics of vaccines, good. Ethics of saving the children, very good.
I mean, apparently almost 10,000 people could have died if Balto didn't step up.
Sure.
I mean, that's pretty significant. How many people Balto saved?
I would also like to say Balto did not take all the credit. The credit was thrust upon Balto. And as a dog, he couldn't tell people, no, it was other people too.
Well, maybe when he was going, whoa, 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 that was me barking.
He might have been trying to do that, but no one understood.
I know, but I think where does the blame lie then? I think that some of it has to rest on Balto.
I think it rests on Gunner, but that's just me.
Yeah, maybe actually.
We have to blame Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for this.
I'm between a 3 and a 4. I could go either way.
I would say 4 because I do think the story of Balto and what the whole team and the whole Mercy race or whatever it was called. It was important for the world and specifically for this town in Alaska in general. So I think a 4 is a good spot to land on this.
Okay. I'll accept these points.
So that is in total. Do the maths. That's
12.
Thank you. I can't do any mathematics anymore. Good. That's a really good score.
Yeah.
So Julia walks away with that with a really solid 12. I will be up next. Oh, how exciting for me. Speaking about being very original, thank you very much. A dolphin called Moko from New Zealand. Oh, yeah. It's well good. I won't do an accent in the actual episode. I'm sorry, any New Zealanders listening.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
Jazza, I was very excited because I've never faced off against you in Head Heart Cut before. And you didn't reveal your choice to me until just recently. And I am pleasantly surprised by the level of wildness in choosing a dolphin.
Yeah.
Like, presumably one of the most asshole animals on the face of the planet. Dolphins.
Oh, just you wait, Julia, because you're going to find out how badly I've shot myself in the proverbial foot.
Yay!
Oh boy!
Yeah.
Oh boy! Here we go.
I feel like I'm on team wild choices here with you and with Eric. Just team hard mode is what I'm looking at right now.
100%.
Me? I'm not on hard mode.
Sometimes you go on hard mode.
Oh, I mean, I used to.
Yeah, this time you're not, but like Jazza's now inheriting your title as team hard mode.
Hey, watch me get 15. So, my headline for Moko the Dolphin is, Moko the Dolphin, he loved us too much and we didn't deserve him.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Oh, no.
I mean, given what I know about dolphins, this can go very wrong, Jazza. This can go very wrong.
I the more I read about the choice I had, the more I realized it was a mistake. But let's see how this goes, shall we?
I mean, the thing that interests me about this is, one, dolphins are generally terrible, but two, like when I was thinking of hero animals, I thought of Balto, Sergeant Stubby, and I could not think of any more. So like any choice was going to be kind of surprising, but I just simply wasn't expecting a dolphin.
I will say I can think of 2 other dogs that I would have chosen on this list if one of you somehow stole Balto from me.
Can I guess, is one of them Alexander the Great's horse?
No, but I love that.
So that was my number 2, but then I decided to go aquatic.
Naturally.
For the lols.
One of them is the Newfoundland that saved Napoleon from drowning.
But Napoleon was bad. That's not a good thing.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. It depends on how you feel. He did like do a lot of atrocities, but also like, took the bourgeoisie out of France. So it's like,
I'm a non-French European, so my opinion of Napoleon is probably bad.
And then the other one was Seaman, who was another Newfoundland who was the dog that accompanied the Lewis and Clark expedition. However, that's rooted in a lot of like Manifest Destiny colonization stuff. So I said, no, Seaman.
Let's just take that clip right out of context.
Clip it.
So for anybody who doesn't know, and frankly, even I didn't know before I started researching, Moko, or his full name, Mokotahi, which is the name of a peninsula near where he used to live, was a lone bottlenose dolphin who hung out at various points on the north coast of New Zealand between 2007 and his untimely death in 2010.
Oh, no.
When we consider dolphins can live up to 60 years, this poor baby died at 4. Yeah, it's very, very sad. Moko came initially to international acclaim when, in March 2008, he helped 2 pygmy sperm whales that were stuck behind a sandbar in Mahia Beach. So locals had been trying for hours and hours to refloat these struggling whales, and were even at the point where, oh God, we're going to have to euthanize these whales. They're having such a terrible time. Then, through the narrow channel being carved by the tide coming out, Moko appeared like a goddamn cetacean superhero and guided the 2 pygmy sperm whales out into the open sea. Now, this is all I knew about Moko before learning about him. And the reason I chose him is because I love the idea of removing the human from the framing of an animal hero. Moko was a hero for animals.
Okay.
Moko was saving other cetaceans, looking great doing it, getting great BBC coverage, doing fantastic. The problem is, as soon as we consider Moko interacting with human beings. So even before this big international news story in 2008, Moko had become a bit of a local celebrity in North New Zealand. He was super friendly, playing with swimmers and boats, and became a big tourist attraction. People came to kind of like see him playing with all of the locals and stuff like that, and even a chance to kind of like bob about with him. And this is where we end up finding information that I realised started slapping me around the face with, oh dear, no, bottlenose dolphins are dicks. So in 2009, Moko wanted to play with a solo swimmer in Mahia Beach to the point where the swimmer wasn't able to return to shore and had to be rescued by other people. So he just loved too much.
You milkshake ducked yourself.
I did 100%. But no. My argument still has weight. Just you wait. So something I love about this particular story is that the swimmer herself was too embarrassed to give her name to the local news. And so she's never been identified because she said, actually, you know what? This was my fault. It was winter. Moko was known when it was winter and it was cold, not as many swimmers were about. Moko was known to get lonely and then get overly enthusiastic.
No.
Get overly enthusiastic when people got into the water. And she went out late and alone. And so she was like, oh, you know what? I shouldn't have done this. Now, I'm not one to victim blame.
I was just going to say,
this is a PSA,
this
though.
dolphin is victim blaming someone.
I'm not one to victim blame.
This is a PSA. Don't go swimming alone. Just don't go swimming alone.
Don't go swimming alone in the winter, in the evening. You know, it's not safe.
Anytime, really.
Because Moko might love you to death. So what, like, I was worried when I read this story. But actually, now that I think about it, if anything, I really identify with him because I am an ENFJ of the internet with 2 podcasts and a YouTube channel. I know what it's like to desire attention and to sometimes be overbearing, you know?
Yeah.
So Moko may not be an animal hero for humans, but he is an animal hero. And that's why he is my hero.
Okay.
Any thoughts, comments? Do you just want to give me the 15 points now? Like, what's the vibe in the room?
No, I think we can wait a little bit.
Okay.
It is a wild, like, if you hadn't told us about
I'd have been safe,
stranding
I know.
of the woman.
I know.
Like,
but
it's
I
very
feel like,
honest of you, which I appreciate, but...
But I also feel like, you know when somebody willingly rolls disadvantage because it's like a character choice? Mm-hmm. That was the energy I wanted to bring to this. I wanted to be honest with you.
Okay.
And apparently play this on fucking hard mode.
Team hard mode, here it is, once again.
I am planning on just charming you with a load of dolphin facts later, so
okay.
We'll see how that goes. Going into Moko's trading card. Now, how can you have something like Moko and not have a Pokemon card? Like, I'm 100% on board with this. The Pokemon card will read, Moko, the Soul in the Sea Pokemon. The Soul in the Sea was the name of a documentary made in 2013 about Moko.
Don't we have enough documentaries?
No, how dare you? Although I did try really, really hard to watch it somewhere. It is available absolutely nowhere and had no commercial release outside of New Zealand. So
it was a real good documentary. Me.
High quality. Its type, obviously, we're going with water. And you know what? I'm also going to go with a little bit of psychic as well, which I will explain a little bit later. But basically, them animals, they got them big brains, them dolphins. It is a single stage Pokemon because Moko is perfect as he is. And his 2 weaknesses are humans and trust.
Okay.
Because in 2010, the New Zealand Department of Conservation investigated several injuries that Moko had sustained when playing with paddlers, who apparently had decided to hit him over the head with an oar. And Moko was also observed of having some other injuries, possibly from propellers, nets, and fishhooks, which are very common with dolphins and other cetaceans that get up and close with humans. Basically, reinforcing that he is too good for us and we don't deserve him. The archetype of a hero.
Jazza, I'm going to tell you a real truth about me that you might not know. I'm pretty sure Eric knows this about me. But I love manatees. Do you know what a manatee is? It's a sea cow. Okay. They are slow. They are cute little dummies, and they get like run over by boats a lot. So anytime I hear about like a sea creature who's like has injuries from boats or just people not treating them well, I cry a little bit. One time I got drunk at Epcot and then stood in front of the manatee tank for a while and cried. Yeah.
I can confirm there's no more. Yeah, there is no more dolphin harm in this debate. So don't you worry.
All right, good to know.
You say that, but I don't know.
And finally, on the trading card, the moves. I've chosen to take 2 actual Pokemon moves and reinterpret them for Moko specifically. So first off, he has Helping Hand. Obviously, we would want to call it Helping Flipper.
Naturally.
So this is intended in the actual Pokemon games, in the Pokemon franchise, to be a support move. But when Moko uses it, he helps so much that he becomes overbearing. To the point where maybe he really wants to play with you, but it's getting late and you're holding onto a buoy and you can't get into shore and you're really scared, and so people have to come and save you, like the lady in 2009. The second move is Mischief. Usually in Pokemon, this is where the target is taunted, causing it to use only attack moves for 3 turns. Now, Moko was not just known for being super fun, but also for being a bit boisterous. So local fishers used to speak about how he tangled their crayfish pots and stopped them from being able to fish. And actually, maybe Moko was single-handedly trying to tackle overfishing in the North Island of New Zealand.
I was going to ask.
Another reason for him being a hero.
I was going to say, this is another, like, he's trying to protect the fellow animals of the sea.
Exactly. Thank you so much for making that point for me, Julia. I really appreciate it. Let's move on now to his 3 best qualities. Now, I will be honest. I have provided all of the news stuff about Moko. So now we're going to move into general dolphin facts.
All right.
Oh, by the way, everything that dogs have done in the past, I get points for that too.
Oh no. So, point 1 is best evolution. So, dolphins outdate humans as a species by several million years. Dolphins date back to the Miocene over 16 million years ago, and humans have only been around for 2 million years. So I want to make sure that we know that they came first. And they are, in fact, also a really cool example of convergent evolution, where 2 species with different lineages evolve similar traits to deal with similar environments, despite their different lineages. Dolphins are often compared to ichthyosaurs, which existed a further 150 million years before dolphins evolved. And ichthyosaurs, despite being an aquatic lizard, shared a load of traits with dolphins: the streamlined body, the breathing of air, dorsal fins, and a tail for propulsion. But also, they had rubbery skin and blubber, and ichthyosaurs also gave birth to live young, just like dolphins did as well.
Even though it was a reptile?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Tail first as well, which also happens with dolphins. So, in the same way that the X-Men are the perfected stage of evolution for humans, Moko the dolphin is a hero because of his superior stage of evolution.
That last part really threw me when you brought in the X-Men. I mean, I've always heard that like the ultimate form of evolution is a crab.
Everything turns into crab.
Everything just turns into a crab eventually. So I see what you're saying about dolphins. I'm not completely sold, but it is interesting for sure.
Well, just you wait. There's even more. So
these are also mammals that need to breathe air, but also live in the water.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they might not be the ultimate form of evolution.
The ultimate form of evolution, just like Magneto.
Yes, just like Magneto.
Just like the ability to move all metals with your mind. Dolphins who live in a substance they cannot survive on.
Also keeping in mind that all of the X-Men, you have stuff like Magneto where it's like, yeah, I can move metal with my mind. And then you have Beak, who's just like a bird guy. And not, like, can't even fly. Just a dude that looks like a bird.
So I know that we're in DC territory here, but literally Aquaman is a thing and has his own film. So let's calm down, please. The second of dolphins, and therefore Moko's best qualities, is dolphins are a clever, clever boy. So, as we know from non-fiction books written by Douglas Adams, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, dolphins are the second most intelligent species on Earth, just behind mice and just above my godson.
Fair enough.
That documentary evidence should be enough to convince you that Moko's hero status, but I'll give you some more evidence. Dolphins have their own spoken language. They understand syntax, they have individual words, and communicate between different pods, so have common languages. They also plan and coordinate together when hunting fish. They have also been known to use tools. They recognize themselves in mirrors. They mourn the dead and are known as great mimics, which leads me to point 3. We don't deserve them.
Okay.
Of course, human beings saw these graceful, intelligent, empathic beings and decided, hey, I can put that in a cage and charge people to look at it. There are currently 3,000 dolphins in captivity around the world, and we've been keeping them in captivity since the 1860s. Once again, Moko deciding to help the animals and maybe be a little bit overbearing on the humans counts towards him here. I argue, no, I won't be taking any other questions. Shall we move swiftly on?
Sure.
Shall we move swiftly on?
We can address all this in the round where we give you points.
I'm sure. So the next stage is Fight Club. And Fight Club is introduced as how does your subject beat the other species in a street fight? Now, this is very unfair because it's a street fight. Moko is buggered because he's a dolphin and has no legs.
Okay, that's fair.
However, if we're going to treat this as kind of like a Pokemon video game,
where all the water animals just float inexplicably,
I'm like a Goldeen floating in the middle of the air. Moko is clearly going to be kind of like, you know how you see a dolphin like attack a shark, like going in with the bottlenose, maybe kind of like an overly boisterous headbutt.
I don't see this anywhere. Where are you watching this? Are you just watching dolphin v shark videos on YouTube all day?
We've all seen those.
Literally, that was all of my today. Now, next we're going to take it to Flavortown. So the Flavortown instructions are, if your subject was a meal featured in diners, drive-ins and dives, and we have to encourage Guy Fieri to say, wow, that's out of bounds. So I looked up what dolphin meat tastes like.
Oh no, Jazza, no!
And dolphin meat has apparently a flavour very similar to beef and to liver. However, dolphin meat is high in mercury and may pose a health danger to the humans who consume it.
I mean, like tuna. It's the same thing as tuna.
Exactly. The reason they have such high mercury is because they are top of a food chain, and we have polluted the seas with gold mining with mercury, and because when you're at the top of the food chain, mercury accumulates. So actually, we shouldn't eat dolphins because we're the problem. It's us, and humans shouldn't be helped. Other animals should be helped, which is what Moko did, may I remind you.
You know, I'm seeing the through line here, and I'm kind of coming around on it.
Thank you. I tried so hard. So after reading this, I thought, you know what, maybe eating dolphin is a little bit inappropriate. So instead, I've suggested sashimi? ?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
Some low mercury sashimi, perhaps.
Yeah.
That when I go to the supermarket,
that's what I
always
for.
Make sure I pick up the low mercury sashimi.
Always. Now, the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson factor. Your subject needs to stand up to the cultural whirlpool and future president Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. This is easy because it's a whirlpool, and Moko will be fine because it's a dolphin's aquatic. Like it's going to be fine. But also, if this were a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie, I imagine Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson being the person on land who maybe is the evil baddie trying to hunt down and stop Moko from trying to help everybody because humans are evil and they want to stop Moko from being a superhero. An interesting thing about Moko is that until they performed an autopsy on Moko, they assumed that Moko was a girl.
I keep forgetting that Mako died tragically.
Yeah, Moko died, sorry. Moko was misgendered for the majority of his life. And in that case, I really think that an Olivia Colman would be a really great voice actor for the role. I think she'd bring a decent amount of charisma there.
Now, how do you feel about Olivia Colman doing a New Zealand accent?
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Should we get a New Zealand actress for this instead?
No.
Okay.
There are plenty of Brits that do American accent. We are every single one of your superheroes right now, and so I'm happy to let's do the British Empire again and export Olivia Colman to play New Zealanders.
Let's do the British Empire again.
I hear it was really great the first time.
It's weird. Jazza just got -5 gut points.
Oh shit! I was doing so well.
I'm not saying I know Olivia Colman's voice so well that I'm just surprised that she feels like this quintessential British person, and I'm just surprised that she's being cast as a New Zealand dolphin.
Moko isn't a New Zealand citizen. Don't be silly. He's a dolphin. Now, finally, my fun fact, and it took me a really long time to find this, but did you guys know that dolphins aren't actually fish?
I did know that.
Yeah, they're mammals. They breathe air, have live young, and everything. Isn't that cool?
That's very neat.
Is cool.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So fun.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, why don't we go ahead and we judge Jazza based on his head, his heart, and his gut? Yeah. Let's start with head.
Well, before we do this, I just want to ask one question to Jazza.
No, please go ahead.
And it's not what the fuck were you thinking? It's the thing that this dolphin did that has earned its place in this discussion is it saved 2 whales.
Correct.
2 baby whales.
Two pygmy sperm whales, yeah.
And then it assaulted some people and died tragically.
No, he loved too much, and we didn't deserve it.
My mistake. He saved 2 baby whales. He loved too much, and then he died tragically.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got.
Isn't that the classic hero's narrative?
All right, head.
I gave you so many facts about dolphins.
I learned a lot about dolphins this episode.
He logically did do something heroic, so we can't just give a 1.
I know.
I think a 2 is fair.
What?
I mean, if we gave Balto a 3 because Balto was on a team but did a lot of good, I think saving 2 whales is heroic, but not that heroic in the grand scheme of hero animals.
Especially given the fact that, like, we got, some decent amount of stuff on Mako, and then your 3 points were about how cool dolphins were. Listen, it was cool that I learned a lot of cool dolphin facts, but I didn't learn a lot about Mako.
Yeah. There maybe would have been more information if I could have found a place to watch that documentary, but it didn't work.
Also, like, she lived fast, died young. I'm crying.
Heart.
Oh, like...
I mean, I think it's important to know that Jazza heard about this dolphin a decade ago and said that's the animal hero for me. I don't think is also a super compelling argument.
I'm so happy that I'm getting to experience this mess with you. I just want to put that out there.
I mean, like, I feel like heart is where I have to give the most points.
No, I agree. Because gut, I am not feeling almost anything in the gut on this one.
The through line of, like, yes, someone has to champion the animals, and the fact that it's a fellow animal is very good. I like that.
Yeah. Hey, I was clutching at straws.
Yeah, and, like, you're pressing that this dolphin just loved too hard. Yeah. Did pull on my heartstrings a little bit. I'll say like a 4. Does that feel fair?
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
Too high. I think a 3 is just fine.
I'll do a 3.5 with you on that then.
If it has to be a 3.5, then that's fine. Okay. Yeah.
Because I feel bad otherwise.
Yeah. Gut, I mean, Jazza, I love you. But I gotta say 1. I just do not think this is the most heroic animal.
What if we brought back the British Empire? Jazza John.
I will say that's a misstep.
This is the rare moment where I will exclude the crimes of the British Empire. It saved 2 two whales, and that was the end of its heroic actions.
You milkshake ducked yourself immediately, and I don't know how to tell you.
Like in my gut, if someone said, "Did you hear about that dolphin that saved two whales?" and then did nothing else heroic, I would go, "That's cool." And then I would never think about the dolphin. Now I'm going to think about this dolphin forever, probably, because of,
Oh my God.
I don't think I've cried laughing at something this hard for some time. Unfortunately, that is not worth any points. I have to say one. I just have to.
Well, you didn't have to, and Moko is disappointed with you.
Okay, so that's a total of
6.5.
6.5.
Wow. Wow, that's embarrassing.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I think you should only be embarrassed in the sense that you gave us a really good time.
Yeah.
Because this was delightful. It's just not the animal hero for me, at least.
Listen, you never know. Our judge might really love this dolphin. You never know.
They very well could.
I'm going to have to do a lot of work between now and then, aren't I?
Yeah. Eric, do your thing.
Yeah. I had something in my head and now I forgot about it.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
I'm not sorry.
Well, Jazza, that leaves you with a noble and honorable 6.5 points.
Wow, don't you patronize me. That's no need to do that.
And next week we'll be shipping overseas for a slightly different type of story while I discuss Sergeant Stubby, a true American hero.
Eric, I feel like you need to be open and honest with our listeners before we get started here. Did you just pick Sergeant Stubby because he's a Boston Terrier, the breed of dog that I know you own?
No. So the history of us learning about Sergeant Stubby, me and Kelsey live near the Metro Parks, which is a nice public park system in Ohio. We went down there and there is just like a war memorial to like, I don't know if it's for just animals, but there's definitely a section of it that is animals. And on there, on the plaque, there's a picture and a little write-up about Sergeant Stubby. And we were, in fact, walking one of our Boston Terriers when we learned about Sergeant Stubby. But no, I didn't just pick him because he is a Boston Terrier, but I did find my love for Sergeant Stubby because he is a Boston Terrier.
I love how you organically came across this as well. This wasn't like a cynical Google like mine was anyway. I was literally just scrolling through animal heroes. He does have, objectively, I think, though, the cutest name.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, also, like, we found that, and then, like, a few years later, I think, like, in 2020, a Sergeant Stubby animated movie came out, which is made by one of those, like, C-tier level animation studios. But we did watch it. We rented it. We watched it. I'm sure it would be very entertaining to a 5-year-old. It did not have that Pixar Disney level of like good for kids, good for more discerning adults.
I mean, Eric, do you have the star-studded cast list for that film readily available?
Yeah, here are some of the stars in this truly phenomenal film. You've got Logan Lerman, Helena Bonham Carter. What's right? Wait, what's... Hold on. I lost my mind. How do you say your middle name?
Helena Bonham Carter.
Bonham Carter. I don't know why it left my head as I was reading it. Helena Bonham Carter and Gerard Depardieu. I mean, like, pretty decent cast. I mean, I'm sure they got their $10,000 and that was good enough.
Sure.
Helena Bonham Carter is also famous for doing like fantastically ridiculous voices for animations and stuff. I now need to see this movie.
All right, there we go. You know, I tried to come at you like this was going to be a trap for you, Eric. I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. I mean, it's good stuff. So anyways, let's move on to the headline for Sergeant Stubby. Sergeant Stubby, the most decorated dog in history.
He's very fancy.
Baubles, tinsel, what was the
lot of
decoration?
Earrings.
Yeah.
War medals.
Yeah, completely ignored the Chanel mantra of take the last thing off. He was famous for over-accessorizing.
There you go. Very camp.
I mean, that's not this dog. I'll tell you that. This dog is a... I was stuck between this headline and just like a literal war hero, which is pretty good. But yeah, that's my headline for him. And now I'm going to move on to my trading card. I've got some pretty impressive stats here for Sergeant Stubby. he served for 18 months in 17 battles in World War I.
Wow. That's too many.
That's like almost a battle a month.
So yeah, I mean, they're pretty good. So I think that's like one stat. And then your other stat, which is in big, bold letters, 1 out of 1 World Wars won. He was in one World War, and he helped win it.
Where was this? Was this in France and Belgium?
I believe so. I believe a lot of it was in France. Yeah. Okay. I mean, he started here, as I'll get into my 3 best qualities. Mm-hmm. But he started in America, and he went over to World War I, and then came back.
When they talk about the D-Day landings and like the Americans coming and saving our asses,
the D-Day landings are historically in World War II.
Is that World War II? Hilarious. But yeah, when they talk about Americans coming and saving our asses, to be fair, in both of the World Wars, I didn't realize that a dog was involved, but I'm happy to have my mind expanded.
Also, they had to have transported him by boat to Europe. Mm-hmm. And now I'm just thinking about this dog on a boat.
Well, speaking of this dog on a boat, let's get into my 3 best qualities, because my first quality is, in fact, Sergeant Stubby's loyalty.
Okay.
Well, he is a dog.
I mean, that is kind of their trademark thing. Yeah, that's a good point. If only Moko had a little bit more loyalty, wouldn't have been such a disaster.
If only we had been more loyal to Moko.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm. I am gonna double down on that argument.
Let's go for it. So in April of 1917, the US was beginning to ramp up and join World War I. And there were troops that were stationed kind of around Yale. That was kind of one of the like prepping spots. And this guy, John Robert Conroy, joined the military. And while they were on the grounds and everything around there, he noticed that there was this Boston Terrier kind of walking around. And they named him Stubby, I believe, because of his short tail. Mm-hmm. And he just kind of would spend a lot of time. He would always wait for Conroy at the same spot, and they started to give him scraps. And then he eventually kind of like started taking him into the barracks and keeping him. And then when the upper ranks found out about him, they were pretty hesitant to keep this dog around. But they realized how much of a morale booster he was that they let him like stay. They did, in fact, disobey orders and snuck him onto the boat.
Oh no.
To go over to World War I because everyone loved him so much.
I was gonna make a joke about Sergeant Stubby being drafted. Doesn't quite land now. Also, the image of this dog like walking into a recruitment office to sign up is also very funny to me.
Very good.
All I'm thinking of is that this dog was basically bribed into taking part in one of the greatest atrocities that humankind has ever known by being fed scraps. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how the entire military worldwide system essentially works.
To be fair.
U.S. Army realized there's a war on. Dogs, good.
So my final point about loyalty is while he was overseas in the war, he did spend some time hanging out in like the medical tents for the injured soldiers. And the medics really, really took a loving to Sergeant Stubby because he was such a morale booster for the injured troops. So like he kind of became like this kind of like dog that was around, and like everyone really loved that he was there and like helping out essentially as like with his bedside manner, like helping the dogs.
Was he just the first therapy dog? Is that what you're telling me right now, Eric?
I don't know if he's the first therapy dog, but he definitely, like, I bought on Amazon.
Oh my God.
A excerpt of National Geographic, which apparently is something you could do. You could just buy articles on your Kindle.
Sure.
And I bought that. And like, I have highlighted notes about Sergeant Stubby's entire military service. So get ready, because here we go into point 2, literal war hero. Now, as Jazza mentioned, World War I, very bad in a lot of ways.
Cannot stress enough, very bad.
We don't condone, yeah.
If you watch that Peter Jackson recolorized World War I documentary, you'll learn a lot of the horrors of World War I that they really gleam over in history class. So we're going to kind of talk about them generally, but not get into too many of the details, because it's sad, and this is a comedy show.
Can I give Sergeant Stubby points already for being like one of the few official war heroes who didn't kill anyone?
Yeah.
Great. Love that.
Oh, thank God. I'm so glad that we can confirm that this little dog...
Yeah, I thought you were going to be like, oh, and Sergeant Stubby like set a bomb in no man's land and killed several people.
He didn't set any bombs. I will say he does have a body count. I don't think the person died. But
you can't tell me this dog has a body. Eric!
You know what a body count means. It means that someone died at
he
his paws.
doesn't have a body count. He doesn't have a body count.
Okay,
and now I don't believe you.
I'll that's my final point in this section, so we'll get to it. The first and most important thing is that he could sniff out mustard gas before it got too dangerous. So in trench warfare, there was a lot of mustard gas, and just in general World War I, he could alert the units he was with before the gas got too deadly. He could sniff it before it became deadly for himself, warn everybody. They would put a mask on the dog.
Incredible. Is there a picture? Eric, you have to show us
There
the
is
picture
not
of the dog.
I could not find a
mask.
picture of him wearing the mask because it was the war and not a lot of people were just walking around with cameras.
Come on, that has to be what they would use photography for at the time. Like,
deducting points now.
if you're not going to photograph a dog in a funny mask, then
What's the point?
What's the point?
The point was winning the war, which they did in fact do once again.
Nah.
He survived winter in the trenches. Like, he spent an entire winter, one of the deadliest winters in modern war, in the trenches with his unit. And like, he was there warning them about different things because he had like heightened senses and understood how to protect his unit. He took a grenade hit.
What?
Sergeant Stubby got blown up. Survived. That's when he ended up spending a bunch of time with the medics because he was also recovering.
Oh my god.
They gave him a bed in a triage tent?
They probably didn't give him a human cot, but they did probably provide him some stuff. But like, he took a hit, a big explosion from one of those bouncy boys or whatever they called them back then, and survived.
The image that Jazza has just suggested puts into my mind this idea of being like, we have 5 injured people plus Sergeant Stubby. They're like, well, get a bed for Sergeant Stubby. The others can lay on the ground.
I mean, pretty much.
Oh, God.
During trench warfare specifically, he was able to find a lot of injured soldiers and like lead the medics to them. So he literally was saving lives. Like, he was literally leading the medics to injured soldiers.
Yes, but how many died for Sergeant Stubby? That's the real question.
Yeah, that's a very good question, Julia.
Look, the ripples of Archduke Franz Ferdinand can never fully be understood. But Sergeant Stubby was able to save a few of the victims of that assassination. He could also, along with sensing mustard gas, sense mortar shells that were incoming. I don't know how.
Could he hear them whistling through the air?
And like alert them. And while the troops were both in the trenches and walking like from location to location, they would often huddle around them when they knew mortar shells were a possibility so that they could like duck and cover and like he's once again saving lives.
Okay.
The final point I have here about being a literal war hero is that in the trenches, he found a German spy. He realized that this guy did not belong in this unit, bit the guy, I think in the ear it said, like bit him somewhere, held on and started barking until like troops came and found this guy. Like, this guy was literally in the US side of the trenches, the British side of the trenches, and managed to like catch someone that didn't belong there.
That is impressive, but does make me think that he's now a xenophobe.
Kind of a snitch.
It gives me vibes of, you know, when like a racist dog owner's dog is also racist.
Well, I mean, he is a Boston Terrier, so there's just some inherent racism.
Yeah,
sure.
It's just Boston for you. He sounds like a snitch, though, which I'm not a fan of.
Okay, I want to be very clear. Stopping a German spy in World War I is not snitching. That's not what snitching is.
Isn't it?
My final point is that he's a Boston Terrier. Now, me and my girlfriend Kelsey have had 3 Boston Terriers. Kelsey adopted Arnie, the late Arnie, when he was 10, had him for 7 years. He lived until he was 17, very old. We now have Herbie and Henry, who are 9 years old. They're brothers, they're litter mates. They're adorable. And I just love, I love Boston Terriers. They are great dogs. They are generally well behaved if you're not our dog Henry, who did 2 days ago get into his bag of food and ate too much, which means I had to stay up super late monitoring him for bloat. He's fine now.
Woo!
And also attacked a German guy in the park, right? Like,
he's never attacked a German guy at the park. He has barked at a German shepherd walking down the street. But he's also barked at every other dog he sees walking down the street. So not exactly specifically racist there.
Now, he's also the one that famously jumped off a second floor balcony.
No, that was Herbie.
Oh, okay.
Herbie famously jumped off a second story balcony, breaking his leg. Similar to Sergeant Stubby, taking a pretty big injury. Herbie's dumb, Henry's evil. So that's right. The two dichotomies we have with our dogs.
They're Pinky in the brain, is what I'm imagining.
There we
yeah,
go.
kind of. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, Herbie also once chewed through an electrical cord and shocked himself. He was sitting literally on the opposite side of the coffee table, directly in front of us while we were watching TV. We thought he was chewing on a bone because, of course, that's what would make sense until he yelped, and he's fine. He's fine. He's laying fine. Right here. You can see him on the video call that we're on. He's fast asleep. Does not care what's going on at all. He's doing great.
Bless him.
Point is, we love Boston Terriers. It's amazing that we happen to love Boston Terriers, and this amazing hero dog is also a Boston Terrier.
Eric, I do have a question before we get to Fight Club, which probably this dog is going to win Fight Club just because he is a literal war hero. Was Sergeant Stubby from Cleveland?
I mean, it's impossible to say where he was from. He first appeared in the history books in Yale. So he's from the Northeast.
Okay.
I doubt he has spent any time in Cleveland.
Okay, so why does Cleveland have a memorial for this dog?
I think there's just, well, it's not specifically for this dog. It's for just like hero animals that have served in war. So I think there's just not a lot of them. So they just kind of picked out like 5 of the more interesting ones and put them up there.
I have a question. Was Balto on that list since you guys stole his body?
I don't think well, once again, I personally have nothing to do with Balto's body.
Speak for the people of Ohio.
Speak for your people.
Yeah, I mean, Balto, I don't know. This was for dogs that served in a war. This thing. So Balto was not included on there, but that does not make Balto any less of a hero.
Right.
This was just for dogs that specifically like have achieved medals in war. Fight Club.
Go for it.
I mean, he is the smallest of our 3 animals, but he does have the entire 102nd Infantry behind him, which I think says something. I think that he has like the literal force of the U.S. military behind him means that he would win a Fight Club.
Also, to be fair, he can take a hit as well. We know that he can take a hit. Like Moko wasn't going to start throwing any grenades anytime soon because no opposable thumbs, to be fair. Can't get the ring pull out with the grenade. But maybe kind of like a headbutt or 2. Sergeant Stubby's going to be fine.
I mean, he's taken a hit, he's attacked a spy, he's done a lot of very heroic stuff. So like this dog knows how to go, for sure.
Okay.
You could just kick him and see how far he flew, because it's a small dog, isn't it?
Very small dog.
It is a
very
small dog.
Yeah.
It is a small dog.
Easily puntable.
But unfortunately, dolphins and Balto can't kick.
Dolphins famously no feet.
So like,
but tail catapult.
Yeah, have you not seen them like flicking balls in the air? There you go.
So let's take it to Flavortown now.
Okay.
How am I gonna like
eat this dog?
Eat Balto?
No, incorrect. So I was thinking he's from Boston. He's from Yale. What kind of dish would Guy Fieri really need to spice up in honor of Sergeant Stubby? So I've gone with a nice New England clam chowder. It's stereotypical, but I don't think Guy Fieri's dipped into the New England clam chowder to make it better. So how am I going to improve upon the clam chowder? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is add at least 3 cheeses.
Okay.
Just add some cheese to that already creamy soup, that chowder, make it really good. Here's the other thing I'm going to do to really, really spice it up. I'm going to fry the potatoes first before putting them in there. Instead of just cubing those potatoes and cooking them in the thing, I think adding a bit of crunch to a clam chowder would be nice. So I'm saying we're going to fry up those. But
surely, I don't want to get all culinary critical on you, but surely you put in kind of like a crispy potato.
Hold on. Before you get too culinary critical, remember, this is something Guy Fieri would make.
I think the point stands.
Let me come straight for Guy. I feel like you're going to put in a crispy potato and within like 3 minutes, it's going to go soggy. And have you ever had a soggy potato that used to be crisp?
In every other bowl of New England clam chowder. At least this adds a little bit of potential crunch.
But the whole point of not frying it is that it is cooking in the sauce and then absorbing into it. This has nothing to do with Sergeant Stubby, but
Not at
we
all.
have opinions about New England clam chowder.
Well, you guys got to find something to come at me with, so why not do the soup? I will finish one thing about flavor time here. It would be easy to make this joke, and I'm not going to make it, but I'm going to say that I'm not going to make it, which means it both counts and doesn't count. Not adding any mustard for the mustard gas joke in the soup.
Yeah.
It's that's not appropriate. It's not funny. Let's be serious here.
Okay. Excellent.
You're right. That wasn't funny at all.
Yeah. You have a missed opportunity here for not having Guy Fieri try to absolutely fuck up a New Haven style pizza. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't know what like ingredients would make the perfect Sergeant Stubby style pie. Like I feel like you're getting too. You really gotta like
Eric,
pull that together.
Eric,
but I see where you're coming from.
Eric, pepperoni.
Pepperoni.
Very good.
Is something. It's something, all right. Finally, how are we gonna bring in Dwayne The Rock Johnson? The Dwayne The Rock Johnson factor. I think we already have a somewhat okay animated movie for kids about this.
With Helena Bonham Carter and that guy from France.
Logan Lerman.
Yeah.
Never heard of him, but sure, he's great.
So here's what I think we need to do. I think this is something both The Rock hasn't done and we don't have for Sergeant Stubby. I think The Rock needs to narrate a documentary.
Okay.
He hasn't done it yet. He's done comedy. He's done drama. Check out Pain and Gain. It's weirdly the one good Michael Bay film. He's done action, but he hasn't narrated a documentary. And who better to have a documentary about narrated by one of the strongest men alive today than one of the strongest dogs in all of history?
I'm not sure I look at or listen to Dwayne The Rock Johnson and think, he's going to take over from Sir David Attenborough. Like, I just don't think that's going to happen.
I mean, it's going to be a different take, and he's going to need a good director behind him. But I think it's time for The Rock to branch out, do something a little different. And I think The Rock could really be like, wow, I know that struggle. I know how hard it is to be tough and stuff, and I could bring that level of narration into this documentary about this dog, because I think people should know about this dog. He's amazing.
Forgive my ignorance, but is The Rock a veteran? Has he ever known combat?
No.
Okay, cool. Right,
no, I didn't mean he had served. I did say that unclearly.
Unless you count WWE, then no.
That is like being at war. So.
Oh no.
I mean, Raw is war.
Raw is famously war, right?
It was like the Monday Night Wars, the most important wars of the 90s. Finally, a fun fact.
Was your fun fact this dog did not consent to be in the worst war ever?
It's the fun fact that Sergeant Stubby committed a war crime of some kind.
The funnest of facts.
My fun fact is about Sergeant Stubby's medals that he earned. So here are some of the medals that he got. And by the way, he did get a coat and a uniform that they were able to sew his medals onto. They do note that it was not entirely practical because of how many medals they had to put on it, but it is adorable, and it is the first picture you see when you go to Sergeant Stubby's Wikipedia.
Eric, if you tell me this dog got a Purple Heart, I might scream.
Okay, get your lungs ready.
Oh no.
He got campaign medals, including the Chateau Thierry Campaign Medal, the French Medal of Verdun, Saint Michael Campaign Medal, the Republic of France Grand War Medal, and after the war, many other decorations were added to the collection, including the Wound Stripe, which was replaced with the Purple Heart, America's highest honor for bravery in conflict. There were two other decorations that were linked by one of Stubby's bravest deeds, the apprehension of the German spy. By the end of his service in World War I, Sergeant Stubby outranked his owner.
I hate this.
Our military memory is so broken.
He had received so many medals and commendations that he had a higher rank than the man who fed him every day and owned him legally.
Is this how, like, in the comic books, everyone's like, well, you know, Captain isn't that, like, high of a ranking, Captain America. So really, a lot of other people outrank you.
Yes, it is exactly that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but Field Marshal America didn't have the same
yeah, it doesn't quite work, does it?
So that is my entire survey of Sergeant Stubby. I've got a lot more stuff for our final round with our judge, but I think I've proven pretty well that Sergeant Stubby, with my head, my heart, and my gut, he is the most heroic dog.
Okay, Eric. Thank you for just all of this. We're now going to judge you and Sergeant Stubby based on our head, our heart, and our gut, scoring you on a scale of 1 to 5 for each. All right, Jazza.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with head.
Well, if we're thinking about head,
Mm-hmm.
and we're looking at the facts, the merchandise, the artifacts that have been presented to us, he's a very decorated war
He's a
veteran.
very decorated dog.
Right?
Perhaps too decorated, but that's an argument for another day.
That's a separate conversation.
Yeah.
But objectively, he is pretty, like, he's ticking all of those boxes. So I think head is probably actually the strongest out of these three.
I think so. I will say I will give Eric like a 4.5 or a 5 here, because when we're talking about hero, the first thing you kind of think of is like war hero, unfortunately. And like one of the things about this fucking dog is that it did like save people's lives in a very like conflict-ridden situation. And it was honored for that fact. So
yeah, much better than Bolto, who, as we know from the previous episode, just kind of like got famous off of the back of a marketing campaign, where all of the rest of the dogs that helped out were all forgotten.
That did happen.
And so, this dog actually did do the things. I'm okay for a 5.
All right, 5 points. Let's move on to heart. Now, I've met Eric's dogs. Mm-hmm. I understand why he is very, very excited for Sergeant Stubby. I think that Eric is like extremely invested in Sergeant Stubby. I think that the fact that he bought an article on his Kindle and then highlighted the shit out of it to research Sergeant Stubby.
Yeah, I didn't buy anything.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I didn't have any upfront costs.
Yeah.
This was all Wikipedia.
This is all, I think this is a 5 too.
Oh, I hate that I can't disagree with you.
I know, right?
I'm so annoyed.
I hate that I can't disagree with it.
Yeah, I think this is a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Don't bugger me.
All right, so Jazza, let's move on to gut, which is just like our gut feeling about Sergeant Stubby.
Oh, I feel like this is not a 5. I just want to make this
I'm going to tell you right now, this one's not going to be a 5.
Damn.
I don't feel very good about a World War I hero. I don't feel good about a dog being forcibly taken across seas because he decided to basically attach himself to the wrong human.
I don't feel good that the American military basically found out, dogs on the battlefield to a certain extent are actually quite useful, and then didn't use them.
Oh, we still use dogs.
But we don't talk about any other decorated war veterans just because they were nice doggies, do we? And I do think it is ridiculous that this fucking canine got a Purple Heart. Like, that must be insulting.
He took a bomb. He took a grenade and then spent time recovering with other soldiers.
But how do the other soldiers feel about that dog getting a Purple Heart is my question. I
mean, I bet the ones that he literally saved from mortar shells, a German spy, and mustard gas were probably like, you know what?
You know what, Sergeant Stubby?
Seems fair, actually.
So for my Sergeant Stubby gut feeling, I'm at like a 2 or a 3.
What?
Where are you at, Jazza?
I am around the same. Shall we say a 2.5?
2.5 sounds great. All right, so Eric, that gives you a total of 12.5, which is a strong showing, honestly.
It's a strong showing. I mean, I was talking shit in the Slack that I was going for a full 15, and I feel like I was in line for it. But I mean, I'm happy to make my case to the judge and maybe take the win there.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, so we have determined that for greatest animal hero, Sergeant Stubby is our winner, but We get an opportunity to take this to our judge to determine once and for all which animal is the best animal hero.
And I am going to turn this around in the deliberation. Just going to make that really clear.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.